In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the passenger side exhaust manifold on your Toyota Tundra. Using a 12mm socket, remove the 3 bolts in the rear of the skid plate. There's one here, there should be one here, and one more here. We only have this one. Same thing in the front, there should be another 3. 2 of ours are broke, and we only have 1. Remove this one. There's little hooks on the back of the skid plate that'll hold it up. Tilt up, push up, and then pull back and remove the skid plate. Using a flathead screwdriver or plastic trim tool, remove the center cap out of the wheel. Using a 21mm socket, remove the 6 lug nuts. Remove the wheel. Using a trim tool, we're going to remove all the clips for these splash shields. There's one located right on the side of the strut tower. Then remove the guard. Do the same thing on the other one. There's going to be 4 10mm bolts for the heat shield. Using a socket, we're going to remove those now. We were unable to get the 2 bottom shield bolts out, but since our new manifold comes with a new shield, we're just going to bend the old one. Using a trim tool, we're going to remove the O2 sensor out of its bracket. My hand is too big to be able to reach up there and unplug it, so I got to bring it down a little bit. There's a button on the bottom side of this connector. Push and then pull on the O2 sensor connector. Release it. Using a 14mm socket, we're going to disconnect the manifold from the rest of the exhaust. There's going to be 3 14mm nuts. Then we'll remove the shield. Using a jack and a block of wood, we're going to go under the oil pan on the edge where the strongest part is, and we're going to support the engine while we take out the 4 engine mount bolts. Using a 14mm socket, remove the front 2 bolts on the engine mount. All right, it's back to. Remove the 4 engine mount bolts. Using your jack, jack the motor up. We're going to lift it up about 1 inch, 1.5 inches. If you feel any extra pressure, stop moving and check if anything's in the way. We're going to start with the nut that's right above the engine mount. And that just snapped on us. We're going to work our way towards the back of the vehicle. Using a 14mm socket, we're going to remove all of the manifold nuts. One last one on the bottom. Wiggle the manifold off. Now we're going to separate it from the exhaust. Wiggle the exhaust manifold free from the exhaust by the triangle gasket, and then remove it from under the car. Remove the old gasket. And then clean up these mating surfaces, all 4 of them, using a wire brush, piece of fine grit sandpaper, or a carbide scraper. Clean the mating surface of where the gasket is going to sit. You don't want to take off any material, you just want to get all the corrosion and make the surface clean. Install the gasket onto the studs. If you put it on kind of an angle, it'll just get held there, so you don't need to worry about it falling off while you install the manifold. Using a 22mm wrench or O2 sensor socket, we're going to remove the O2 sensor out of the old manifold and then install it in the new one. Using a 19mm socket, remove the O2 bung plug. And install the O2 sensor. Snug it down. Torque the O2 sensor to 32 foot-pounds. Before putting the manifold in the car, I'm going to remove all of the 10mm bolts for the heat shield. There's 2 on each side. We'll put those to the side to use for later. Install the studs into the new manifold for the exhaust pipe. To tighten these down, you can either use 2 nuts and then tighten them down on each other, and then use 1 to tighten them, or use a stud installer and tighten them down. Once our manifold is set up, it's ready to go into the car. From down below, Stick the manifold up into the car. Using a flathead screwdriver, we're going to remove the old exhaust gasket off of this triangle. And then install the new one. Line the manifold studs up. Drop it on. And we're going to line up all of the studs to the head. Start all of the exhaust nuts by hand. Using a pry bar to pry on the flange just to get it towards the head on the bottom. With most of our nuts started by hand, we're going to go around and start to tighten them down. We're going to go around and torque our bolts to 32 foot-pounds. If you can't get a torque wrench in there, do the best you can. Install the exhaust manifold shield and get the 10mm bolt started by hand. Once you have the 4 bolts started by hand, go around and snug them down. I'm going to drop the engine down and line the bolts up for the engine mount into the block. Start these bolts finger tight, but we're not going to torque them down yet. We want to get all 4 in before we lock it in place. We want it to have a little bit of play if we need. Install the 2 bolts for the engine mount in the back. Snug the 4 engine mount bolts down. And then the 2 in the front. Torque the engine mount bolts to 27 foot-pounds. The engine mount bolted up, we can remove the jack from the bottom of the engine. Install the 3 15mm nuts. For the triangle exhaust. The OE hardware for this was 14mm. The nuts that came in the kit are 15s. We're going to go around and snug those down. Torque the triangle exhaust bolts to 46 foot-pounds. If you removed the O2 connector on the harness from the bracket, reinstall that now. Connect the O2 sensor, push until you hear a click. Reinstall the side shield. Do the same on the front. There should be 5 clips. A few of ours broke, so we only have 2. Install the wheel. Put on your 6 lug nuts. Using a 21mm socket, snug down your 6 lug nuts. Install the skid plate. There's 2 hooks that'll hook into this front cross beam. There should be 6 bolts holding this on, 3 in the front and then 3 in the rear. We only have 2 bolts. The other 3 in the back should be in this hole here, 1 in here, and then the 3rd in here. Torque your wheel to 83 foot-pounds in a star pattern. Install the center cap back into the wheel. Snap it into place.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.